Hello and welcome to this 30-minute beginner-friendly back bending practice, where we'll talk about the principles of back bending, and I'll introduce you to some of the foundational heart opening or back bending postures found in the majority of modern day yoga practices. You won't need any props for today's practice. When you're ready, we'll get started. So we'll begin today's practice sitting back on the heels with the toes untucked. Take your thumbs to spin your calf muscles away from each other, and then sit back and find an upright seat. Refer to this pose as Vajrasana, or lightning bolt pose, it's sometimes referred to. As we move through this back bending or heart opening practice, there's a few principles I'd like us to think about just while we're sitting here catching our breath. So just start to breathe evenly in and out through the nose. And the first principle I want you to think about is that all good, strong back bends start from the legs. So even whilst you're sitting here, rather than just letting the energy and the weight fall down, could you push the tops of your feet and your shins into the floor to feel as though your hips were lifting away from your thighs, just a couple of inches, and that downward press of energy is going to give you an upward lift of the thighs. And if you rest your hands on your thighs, you'll feel the muscles of your thighs engage. And then just release the legs and lower down for a moment. We'll do that a few more times. So press down to lift and lower. Press down to lift and lower. And one more time, press down to lift and lower. So we understand that there's always one action and an opposite reaction happening as we move through our postures. Second principle I want you to think about is we want to bend or extend evenly through the entire length of the spine in our back bends. So let's think about the spine from the crown of the head all the way to the tailbone. So we don't necessarily want to overextend in one area. Think the neck, for example. And as well, we don't want to overextend through the lumbar. So you want to try and find an even amount of extension distributed through the length of the spine. So rest your palms face down on your thighs for a moment. Let's find this movement from the tailbone first. So just let your tailbone move back behind you and then grip into the thighs. Pull your chest forwards. And then rather than lifting your chin to the ceiling, imagine that the crown of your head was going to reach back in the same direction that your tailbone was reaching. So now you have an even amount of distributed extension through your spine. Take an inhale there. As we exhale, let's find the opposite. So tailbone will start to tuck under. You'll now push the thighs away from you to feel the shoulder blades draw apart. And instead of crunching the chin to the chest, just thinking about the crown of the head moving out in front of you. And then we'll start to move between those two shapes. So tailbone moves behind you, chest draws forwards, crown of head reaches back, breathe in. Exhale, tailbone draws under, shoulder blades spread apart, crown of head moves forwards. So you feel that even distribution between the two. And as we move through some of our postures today, I'll give you some examples of what not to do or what to avoid, and some visual examples of what it looks like to not evenly distribute the extension through the spine. We'll come through hands and knees, and we'll find the exact same action from this tabletop shape. And these are the movements of cow and cat, super common in your modern day vinyasa style yoga practices. So start the movement with tailbone, it lifts, chest draws forwards, crown of the head lifts up. Now here is a common example where people would lift their chin towards the ceiling, and you can see that I've lost the back of my neck here. It becomes really hard to breathe, and I've also lost the ability to let the energy travel all the way up through the crown of the head. So it's the crown of the head that lifts up, the back of the neck stays nice and long. Breathe in. Exhale, tailbone draws under, push away from the floor, shoulder blades spread apart. Crown of head moves down to the floor, but without crunching the chin towards the chest, because then we lose the front of the throat. So do that 2 more times as you inhale to open and lift. Think nice and even. Equal length through front and back of the neck. Exhale. One more time. And from here, tuck your toes under. Press firm through your 2 hands. We'll lift the hips up and back to find downward facing dog. Biceps by the ears, gaze back towards the toes. Bend the knees as much as you need to feel the tailbone rise high towards the ceiling. Breathe in. From here, walk hands back towards the feet. Then come onto the fingertips in front of your feet. Bend the knees a little. Inhale, lift the chest. So think long spine. Tailbone presses behind you. Crown of the head reaches forward, so we never want to lose the back of the neck. Nice and long here. Breathe in. Exhale, bend at the elbows. Catch hold of the elbows and let your head drop. Head nice and long. Little bit of a shift from one side to the next. Almost feeling one leg straighten and the opposite knee bend as you shift from side to side. And release the hands. Start to roll up through standing. So take your time and let the spine round. This is a flexion through the spine. So the opposite of a back bend. It's important to move in opposite directions in yoga, especially in a well-rounded practice. You don't just want to move in one direction. Words are hard sometimes. I apologize. So you always want to find the counter poses to whatever your primary movement pattern is. Now, I want you to take your hands towards your hips for a moment. Think index fingers at the frontal hip bones, thumbs towards the back of the hips, and feel the tailbone lift behind you for a moment. So you find this little duck butt type shape, and then feel the front of your hips lift as your tailbone tucks under. We call this a tuck butt. So defined the neutral pelvis, what we refer to as neutral pelvis. It's when the front of the pelvic bowl and the rear of the pelvic bowl are in line or the same height as one another. And this is what we want to try and find as we move through our back bends to help that even distribution of extension through the spine. So find what you would consider a neutral pelvis and take your hands to support your lower back. Press the hips forwards and lift the chest up. So this is just very gentle. Your hands are there to energetically push your glute muscles down so we don't compress through the lower back, the lumbar spine. We still find lots of space. Shoulder blades melt down the back, the elbows hug in, and the chest lifts. We breathe in. As we exhale, press the thighs back. As you fold over the thighs, take your hands to the back of the ankles. A little grip to allow yourself to draw down a little more. And we release, lift halfway, breathe in. We walk our hands forwards. We're back in downward facing dog. Take a breath. Let it out. And then we look forwards. We roll forwards. We're going to come towards a plank position. That same neutral pelvis we found when we were standing. Shoulders stack above the wrists. There's a little space across the shoulder blade, so we push away from the floor here. Crown of the head reaches forwards, never losing the back of the neck. Take an inhale. Then gently lower the knees, bend the elbows as you exhale. We lower down slowly. When you come towards the belly, slide your hands so they're under your elbows, which is different to hands under shoulders. Press the tops of your feet down, even your pinky toes, so feel the heels slide away from one another. Press feet down so knees lift, and then find that same neutral pelvis. So tailbone starts to tilt down towards the back of the knees. We're going to inhale and lift the chest just a little bit. So notice I've barely lifted at all. The shoulders are moving down the back. The elbows are hugging in, and I'm not losing the back of the neck. So common when we lift here. Again, we tend to lose the back of the neck. So crown of the head leads the way. Take a breath. Exhale, we lower down. Remember, all good back bends start with the legs. We extend evenly through the spine, and we try and find a neutral pelvis. So let's do that now. Press the feet down, thighs lift, tailbone tucks gently. Inhale, we lift a little more. It's really important in this pose, Bhujangasana Cobra, you want it to feel like the hands were pulling back to draw your chest forwards, rather than it feeling like your hands were pushing you back. This is crunchy in the low back. So that's why we slide hands under elbows. We feel the chest draw forwards. That allows us to lift. Breathe in. Exhale, drop the head. And then press through hands and knees. So use the strength of your arms. Tuck the toes under. Send the hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Let the right leg rise up and back behind us as we breathe in. Let the exhale pull the knee to chest. As you roll forwards, you like to step your right foot by your right thumb and drop your back knee. Untuck your back toes here, and like we did at the very beginning of practice when we were kneeling, press the top of the foot and the front of the shin down so you feel an element of lift. Muscles of the left leg will engage. Tailbone will tuck slightly to find that neutral pelvis, and then we'll lean forward slightly and allow the arms to rise overhead. So you're countering all the downward energy by pressing into the top of that left foot and the front of the shin, and that will really help to engage that left leg more. Maybe you shift your gaze up towards the thumbs, but you don't need your chin to lift with you. We want to keep length through the back of the neck, so we extend evenly through the entire length of the spine. Take another breath. As you exhale, circle the hands down towards the floor. Fingertips find the mat, and extend your right leg. Flex the toes towards you. Maybe walk the hands out a little further. Perhaps you could fold. Take another breath. And we start to lift our chest again. We're going to rebend the right knee, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, and then push your left palm flat into the floor. Start to rotate your spine to the right-hand side of the room and reach your right arm up. Lots of depth in the right thigh, some height in the back leg. You find this gentle rotation to help support the spine as we move towards our back bending practice. Breathe in. Exhale, right hand comes down. We step the left foot up to meet the right. Halfway lift. Exhale, let's fold. Roll up through standing. Let your palms meet above you as you inhale. Then exhale, draw your hands through center. And let your arms rest down by the side. From here, arm sweep over the head. Right hand's going to catch hold of your left forearm. Use your inhale to lift up. And then exhale, send your hips to the left as you side bend to the right hand side of the room. You can let a little more weight rest into your left foot. Maybe gaze under your left armpit here. So trying to find that gentle tuck of tailbone, less of a tuck, more of a neutral pelvis. Take a breath. Exhale, shift through center. As the arms swim down by the side, we fold over the thigh. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Right leg stays. Step the left leg back. Back knee is going to stay lifted. This time, find some stability. We're going to rise all the way up. A little bend in the back knee is going to allow you to find that neutral pelvis. As your palms press, if you wanted to gaze up towards the hands, make sure you're not losing the back of the neck. So you feel the ball of the left foot press into the floor so that left knee feels like it's rising. Lots of stability through that front right foot. Take an inhale. Exhale, circle hands towards the mat. Try to step back towards a plank. We'll lower the knees, bend the elbows all the way down. Find that cobra pose, hands under elbows, tops of feet press down. Inhale, lift. The chest feels as though the hands were pulling backwards to lift the chest forwards. Exhale, drop the head. Press up through hands and knees. Downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg rises, up and back behind us. Exhale, pull the knee to chest, roll forwards, land the foot. Back knee drops, untuck the back toes. Push, top of the right foot, front of the right shin down. Reach the arms overhead. Lean forwards slightly. Gaze up with your eyeballs and less with your chin. So the inner thighs hug towards each other. Maybe firm into your right glutes to keep the back of that right hip supported. Inhale. Exhale. Hands come down. We send the hips back. Work to straighten through the left leg. Any amount of fold that is available to you right now. Somewhere that will allow the back of your neck to become long. And slowly we rise, rebending the left knee, setting the foot flat, tucking the back toes to lift the right knee, then pushing through the right palm to rotate to the left-hand side. So the twists, that rotation in the spine, it does help prepare the spine for deeper back bends because we're working to stretch and rotate all the muscles that help support the spine as well, especially the muscles on the lateral sides of the body, the internal, external obliques, the intercostals, even the latissimus dorsi as well. Take an inhale. Exhale, left hand comes down. We step right foot up to meet the left, halfway lift. Exhale. We roll up through standing. Let the palms meet above us as we breathe in. Exhale, arms swim down alongside the body. And setting towards that side bend again, so arms will lift overhead, feet are hip width distance apart. This time left hand will catch hold of the right forearm, inhale to go up. Exhale, hips to right, arms to left. Come back through center. You can take your feet a little wider here, interlace the hands behind the back. The toes turn out wider than the heels. The hips press forward, slide the hands down, the back of the hips. Breathe in. Then exhale, hips will go back as you bend your knees to fold over the thigh. Ribs and thighs are nice and close, so bend the knees as much as you need to so that feels a little more sustainable, like you could stay there for a little bit. And before you release the hands, let them touch the tailbone first. As they drip down towards the floor, you take that halfway lift again. Breathe in. Left foot stays. Take your right leg, step it back. Okay, the back knee lifted this time as you rise up through standing. Maybe a soft bend in the back knee to find neutral pelvis. Palms meet above you. Push down through the ball of the right foot. Gaze up with the eyeballs. Try not to lose the back of your neck. Take a breath. Exhale. Hands come down. You step the left leg back to meet the right. Lower the knees. Bend the elbows. Lower all the way down. This time slide the hands all the way down alongside the body. Press the palms into the mat. Crown of the head reaches forwards. Feet press down so knees lift. And as you inhale, lift the head and the chest. Keep the palms pressing down for a moment. Fingertips searching for the back of the room. So the shoulder blades move away from the ears. Then float the feet and legs off the mat. Two big toes touching, heels spin away. Try not to lose the back of the neck as you float the hands off the mat as well. So extending evenly through the spine. Using all of your spinal extensor muscles to allow yourself to lift in this prone position. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, then on 1, take the hands down by the low ribs, press the feet down, inhale, lift for that cobra pose again. And then drop the knees, send the hips back towards the heels, find child's pose. Nice one. Start to lift the chest and then just cross the ankles to sit on to the floor. We're going to take a twist, extend the left leg out long in front, sole of right foot outside the left thigh. You want to keep the left toes flexing towards you and then take your right hand behind the back. Reach your left arm up, breathe in. As you exhale, hook the left elbow to the outside of the right thigh. You start to rotate back over your right shoulder. Push down through your right hand. Press your right leg into the left arm. And feel your collarbones broaden, your chest open even as you rotate. Take a breath. And bring torso back through center. And we'll swap legs. Extend the right, bend the left. Flex into the right foot, left fingertips behind you, right arm rises, breathe in. Exhale, hook. And begin the act of rotating. So press leg into arm. Shift, gaze back over left shoulder. Push in to left hand. And keep those right toes flexing towards you. Take an inhale. Be there for the breath out. And as you come back through center, you shift your hips forwards, catch the ankles, and lower down onto your back. So setting up for bridge pose is a very important pose. A back bend that allows you to strengthen the rear part of your hips, your glutes, all the muscles that support the back of the hips. The arms alongside the body, find neutral pelvis as you press through the feet to lift the hips. You want to feel that when you rise, there's lots of length across the lumbar portion of the spine. If you're newer to this pose, I like gripping the edges of the mat. You energetically pull the mat towards you and energetically slide the feet away from you at the same time to allow the hips to rise higher. The inner thighs are active and hug towards each other. There's length through back of neck, of course, but also front of throat, so not jamming chin to chest, but feeling a little bit of space there. Take an inhale. Gently release. Nice. Take the arms out wide. Just let the feet rest for a moment. And we'll set up round number 2. Arms down alongside the body. Neutral pelvis, hips lift up and off the mat. Again, gripping the edges of the mat. Again, if you're more familiar with the shape, you might interlace the hands behind the back, but this is plenty. If you're happy here, stay here. Neutral pelvis, inner thighs active. Lengthen the front of the throat as well. Take a breath. Exhale. We lower. And if you're with me, we'll do that one more time. So press down to lift up. Catch the mat, press and lift, and hold. We're here for 10, 9, inner thighs active, 8, energetically feet slide away from you, 7, hands pull towards you, 6, 5, 4, breathe, 3, 2, and 1. Gently lower your hips down, reach the arms forwards, and bring yourself up towards the seat. Extend the legs out long. In front of you, flex the feet. Set the hands by the hips. Feel your chest rise, almost like a cobra pose here. Shoulders melt down the back, but the chest leads the way. And then set your arms above your head, breathe in. Exhale, you move forwards from the pelvis to allow yourself to fold. If the feet are not there for you to catch, that is fantastic. Doesn't matter in the slightest. You can just let the back of the hands rest on the mat outside the feet. Bend the knees if needed, so your ribcage can rest against your thighs. Feel your toes flex towards you, and the crown of your head move towards your toes. Take a breath. Gently come back up through a seat. Allow yourself to lower down onto your back. So as we lower down, we want to feel as much length of our lumbar, our lower back, still grounding onto the mat. So that slight tuck of the tailbone will allow that to occur. This gentle action of the shoulder blades drawing towards each other I'll give you more space across the shoulder blades grounded as well. You have the feet just slightly wider than the hips, and the toes might naturally fall out to either side. You don't want there to be any effort required as you turn the back of the hands, the knuckles, onto the earth and let the palms face up. Allow your eyes to soften shut if you haven't already. Be grateful that you had this time today to practice. Be proud of your own efforts. Make a commitment to yourself to keep practicing. If you made it all the way to the end, let me know in the comments how your quads, your thighs feel, especially after that third bridge pose. I know mine were feeling it. If you have the time today, you stay here in Shavasana, your final resting pose, for as long as you can. Peace.